Spanning Tasman Ocean, ladies and gentlemen. Internacional. Hello, everybody. Coming to you live right now on May the 12th, but of course you could be watching this like a clever person on our archive that we've got here on the Mark Field Sports Facebook page. You could be listening to this on iTunes. Hello, iTunes. You might be listening on Spotify. Hello to you. You might be watching, I don't know, listening on Spreaker or anything like that. But here we are, folks. We're in Australia there with Blake. We've also got Piers here with me. Here in Te Arotu, we're not quite with me, but Thursday, mate, I think. Do I get to come over and go in close range with you on Thursday now that we're going to level 2?
Level 2, we are allowed to, so long as we don't invite 9 other people. We're allowed to be within the same. We can touch each other, like we can literally.
Oh, we can.
Yeah, you know when we went to the supermarket and we saw each other and we were like, how you doing?
You stay on your side of the fruit and I'll stay on mine. Like that,
we get to blow that out the water and we get to hang out. But so long as we're not in massive large groups, that's what I took from it. 10 is about as many people as we can have around at our houses at the moment. Once we pass Thursday state, then we can have like up to 10 people at our house.
Do you have 10?
Great.
Do you have 10 friends?
No, I have 10 family members though. So I know that. In fact, I've got my young fella, my 13-year-old stepson, 12-year-old stepson's turning 13, and he is going to have his family members over, and so I am looking forward to saying sorry. That's too many. So there's going to be like grandparents or someone's going to have to miss out. I'm waiting for that opportunity to be like, nope.
Oh, come over and hang out. Go, well, I'll get out so you can go in.
Yeah.
I don't want to break the rules here. I don't want to break the rules of what I'm doing. Of course I forgot, because it's a cool day today. I forgot.
Yes, what is it? Of course.
May the 12th.
Yeah.
Happy birthday, Tony Hawk.
Happy birthday,
He's
Hawky.
52 years old today and he's still getting it done. Huh?
Absolutely. Tony Hawk.
How about that? Well, look, lots of things coming up. Yesterday I got to see some live sport and we'll verbalise about this more, but I actually didn't appreciate how much I was going to love it, even though it was missing the crowds. That was yesterday's UFC. So Kai Kara France will be on with us. But, of course, right in amongst it all, and it looks like he's about to go, I don't know, on some sort of combat mission right now. Yeah. As we go live to Tamworth today with Blake Hayes for Blake. Why are you, you look, are you cold? What is it?
I'm freezing. It's going to get to about 0 degrees here in Tamworth tonight.
How?
So, yeah.
It's Australia.
It's country New South Wales. It's freezing out here.
So are you going to go? Are you going outside, or is this just? Is that the route?
No, indoors.
That's it.
Yeah, I don't like. I've got fancy. I've got the air conditioner and everything, so I can put the heater on. But I don't like I get a bit sick and nasally when I put the aircon on. So
I know what you mean. In these COVID-conscious times too, you got to think of that. It's like I'll just turn. Do they have one of those long wall heaters down the bottom that when you turn it on, it just smells like burnt dust, and you think I'll just turn this on for years?
There is dust up the top though. I'm looking at it now, but I don't want anything, because then if you get, say, I sneezed today outside, I felt like I felt bad. Like I sneezed, but I tried to hold on and hide it after I did. I didn't make eye contact with anyone, because I didn't want anyone to look at me, and I would have felt bad. Like if you have a cough or anything or a runny nose, you have to mention it, and then you go straight away and get the test. Even if it's just like a dry air cough.
But I thought sneezing was out of the equation.
Oh, I don't know.
But you don't want to risk it. You don't want to roll that dice.
Just don't.
No one was within probably about 30 meters of me, but I felt real bad.
Wow.
Yeah.
You didn't want to be the one that brought down the Warriors and brought down the NRL.
Brought down the NRL.
Oh, look at this. This is good. This is that attitude that we've all had as a nation, which has been good, and we are carrying this forward. I've seen all sorts of news, Blake. So obviously we've got vaccination type things, and we've got teams moving around and training, and I think the Storm are going back to train at home or something because things have changed. What's the latest? What's the latest news over there?
Oh, I'm not too sure about the Stormania situation. Here was a big day today because they got to do contact. So like yous were allowed to touch tomorrow. Thursday. The boys were allowed to, but Thursday, sorry. But it is very weird. I was speaking to Mark before. So they got on the field and bashed each other in contact. But then as soon as you come back inside, you have to practice social distancing again. So it's quite strange, yes. But that was on today. So they had a tough day today. Got belted, which meant like I made myself useful because I got to do some camera work and some
Oh, but that.
Yeah,
Nice.
so I didn't just sit there and sort of steal someone else's money, steal Sky's money.
That's good. That's good. So you had So if we're looking through some of the headlines that are going on at the moment, we've got the NRL moving to one referee, which I'm led to believe from one Tony Kemp that this could be a massive disadvantage for the Warriors in the sense that we are going to be a very mobile pack, not a massive large pack. So slowing us down by having one referee and resting us on the ground for a bit longer will mean that the Warriors will be hampered by the one referee rule. Would you agree with that, Blake? It's more set for those big set teams that are going to hold players down, and the referee gets up and keeps jogging back, and it's going to take up time and take away our advantage.
I agree with Tony 100%. I reckon the team, once again, that's going to benefit will be the Melbourne Storm because they got the big forward pack and they're the best at wrestling. So obviously there's not going to be the second ref that's in the ruck and in the play the ball saying, all right, up now, and all the players jump up. So teams are going to manipulate the one ref very easily, I reckon, especially because the refs have practiced to have two refs for so long. Now, I can't even remember how long ago it was, but I reckon that teams are just going to manipulate every part of the game. And for the Warriors, we don't have the largest pack as we're used to. We're very mobile, not tall, very mobile, and it won't help, I don't think, going forward.
I'm just thinking though, like if enough people have voiced this concern about the whole, well, hang on, you won't be able to do that. I'm thinking one of the things where would get lost is you could say, I couldn't hear the ref because of the crowd, right? But if you're playing without them, you know what I mean? Like if he's loud enough, he could, you could do the whole bullshit. You heard me yelling to get off. I know what you're up to. I'm going to ping you. And I think to me, it's like the referee in that case has to be, okay, there's only one of me. Then I actually have to set the rules on that early because if you don't set the bar on that early, then you're right. Then Melbourne wrestle forever. Then you get that. There's got to be a bit here where it's like, no. I know this shit. So hopefully with enough people sounding it out, right, that'll help.
But you get teams like the Storm who will cop penalties all day and just keep defending and keep doing it. And they're not going to get anyone stood down or sin bin or anything. So they're going to keep doing it. With that, though, it brings up the other interesting rule. So in the ruck there where they wrestle, what you're saying, the ref's not going to blow a penalty anymore. They're talking about just saying 6 to go. But
so you get another 6.
Yeah, another 6. But if you as a playmaker don't recognise it, happened in the grand final last year.
Yeah,
they said 6 to go, so the Raiders ran it, got tackled. He reckons he put his hand up, and the ref got called out for it. So that's another rule I don't think is going to work. So
mate, look at Nate's face as you relive that.
Sorry, no. It's just
there's so much bullshit in that. God. I was just used to the ball hitting the trainer.
Thanks, Blake.
The other bullshit. The double bullshit.
Christopher Reeve, friend of the show, commenting in there saying, "Fancy that, Melbourne Storm getting another break."
Yeah, exactly.
With level 2, obviously on the brink of level 2 being announced today by Jacinda Ardern and our government. The interesting news came out. Also, a schedule, or schedule, however you want to put it, for Investec Super Rugby Aotearoa. Let me just do the magic and quickly share on the screen exactly what that looks like. So there we have it.
Here it comes.
Look at that.
Oh, look, it's all real and it's written up and everything.
Yeah.
And it's going to be there and everything. And there's people. And you know what I'm really curious for? I'm going to rewind my life 2 weeks ago when people were like, oh man, I'm so desperate. I just want some sport. I'll watch anything.
Yeah.
How soon is it into a game before everyone's like, oh, this is bullshit? Blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? Before we get to that.
Well, it'll be Forsyth Bar, Dunedin. Yeah. What is that? 7:05 on the 13th of June. When the Chiefs...
No, that's 5:05.
Oh, 5:05. Sorry, I can't do that. Yeah. Don't write in a 24-hour clock. You're going to confuse me. 5:05
to do it.
And you sit there and you think to yourself, that bullshit call will come up as soon as the Chiefs score their first try against the runner play against the Highlanders, and all the Highlanders fans will be like,
yeah. Oh, it's
how funny is that the rugby league, like we just spoke about, is catering to the Storm, and then here we have the Crusaders. The week off while the 4 other teams bash each other, and Crusaders get the ice up and go at them next week when they're all sore.
Yeah, do the whole, is that the Chiefs' little sneaky new tactic, isn't it? I'll do a bit of that. Oh, look, here's Sam Whitelock back. Hi. What was it? Hi, gozaimasu, Sam. Hi, gozaimasu to you. I'm back from Japan. I'd like to play now. Okay, you can do that. Quick, hit our other lock in the side of the knee with a stick. There we go. Sam's back.
What do you think about that? Because I'm not a fan, only because I want to see the Mitre 10 or the ITM. I'd rather see the All Blacks play there. There's more teams. There'd be more quality games. Oh, they're going to be quality games, but there will just be a lot spread out. I reckon it'd just be a good competition. More games for the weekend.
Yeah, I guess it's because this is just the ease of, if you had to try and organise all the unions, you might not have anything out there for about 2.5 or whatever, because then you might get one of the unions saying, well, hang on, our guy, because it's the whole year, the pro rugby guys have been going, but the dudes that play club rugby here, like, you know, most of them are still at work, or most of them are still in those, so that, you know, they might have been out. So I'm thinking with this, they're being really pragmatic and going, okay, we've got these guys that are already been, you know, training separately, Crusaders training separately, and doing all that to get in there. So I feel like for this, like I'm just pleased they've got something out that's out on the field, and I think for them that's a good point of view. And then I don't know, man, we might even get both. Possibly we get both. That'd be cool if we could, because I know that. So I had a board meeting today for a school, and like we've been told, okay, so high school sport can start under these guidances. We'll take our guidance from North Harbour Sport where we are, but you can get that back up and running. So the kids that we were concerned about the other week about first 15 rugby and that, they might get their shot, or your soccer players or your netballers or whatever as well. So I'm just stoked we've got something.
Yeah. My thoughts. Sorry, just to switch back quickly. Well, two thoughts for me. One, the fact that they've done the Investec Super Rugby. They're starting back up the Super Rugby Aotearoa version. I thought is a little bit of a missed opportunity in the sense that it's. I know not many people enjoy playing against the Australian teams or the South African teams or the Japanese teams or, excuse me, any of the other teams outside other than our own. But I do feel like that might be... Sorry, I don't have the code. I do feel like it's a bit of a watered-down league, considering we are only playing our own franchises. When we had... Picture this. Super Rugby, just New Zealand teams, is very much watered-down raro, in the sense that we aren't getting the full competition. Yet you had Mitre 10, ITM Cup, whatever you're calling it, NPC Rugby, all rearing and ready to go at full strength and some. We've got all our players available and some. You had a full strength NPC schedule you could have released and that being the poster child, but they've gone for Super Rugby, the watered down, just New Zealand teams version. That to me is I'm not.
So you're saying it's watered down because there's not enough teams in New Zealand? Because obviously we can't wait for Australia and South Africa. We don't know when they're actually going to be okay.
So why not?
We don't know when travel's going to be.
Exactly. So why bother with Super Rugby when that's really the flavour of that is the international side of it. The fact that you do go and play Australian teams and you do play South African teams. Why give us a watered down version of that when you had a full strength Mitre 10 Cup ready to go with All Blacks all ready to play and fizzing? That would be...
Well, but just what I was saying before, you can't. Yes, you might be able to guarantee the All Blacks, but it's the other guys you can't guarantee in Mitre 10 Cup, because you know there's like not all of those guys are full time professionals. In fact, the majority of them aren't.
So what are they busy working?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like you've got to sort out other stuff for them for work. Whereas at least I know with everyone in my teams here, if I'm the New Zealand Rugby Union, they're all my employees, so I know that they're all available just to do this. Whereas I've got other guys that might be doing two things, so it's hard for them to figure out to do. I'm thinking, I want something out quick, and this is what I'm going with.
But not all of them play ITM usually. So wouldn't there, within those teams, that the squad, like they usually have a squad of, I don't know, I'm guessing maybe 30, the Super Rugby? Would they not be able to, all of them, to cover most of the provinces and then have a couple of people here and there?
Again, like Northland wouldn't have a province like Northland and Southland don't have a huge amount of players that are playing contractually in Super Rugby. So those are obviously that province would need more help. One which has got a lot more, like a Canterbury or a Wellington, you've got a whole lot of guys already that are on these contracts, so it's easier to bring them in. And I think that the problem is that if I'm trying to get something out quick, every single one of these is on a level playing field in terms of preparedness and set to go, whereas the other one is complicated. And so I'm like, just get it out.
Another thing is for Kai jumps in. Well, we know a lot of the rugby teams that they're usually when they play each other have massive clashes, like rivalries, and then they get a couple of weeks off to play the Aussie team, South Africa team.
True. Yeah,
obviously don't go as hard. how's it going to go when they're playing 2 or 3 times a year? Like their bodies wouldn't be used to getting like that rivalry every week. You know what I mean?
No.
That's different. It'd be interesting to see how that happens.
That's going to be intense. They're going to be intensive games non-stop. When you've only got Super Rugby teams from New Zealand playing against New Zealand teams, it's going to be a step up in intensity, because sometimes you're right. You get a bye week, aka the Jaguares, or the Jaguares. It's probably unfair on the Jaguares. You get a bye.
They're awesome.
You get a bye week by playing one of the Australian teams, and mate, your teams are shit. Like they have been for some time.
Mate,
the
we
Brumbies,
won the 5 years ago.
Yuck! You're bringing up the Brumbies years. Stephen
Larkham. The
Larkham.
Hurricanes walking away from the final right there. Look at that. There we go. Kai Cutter France is with us right now. G'day, bro. How are you?
What's up, boys? Yeah, I'm good, man. How you guys been?
Yesterday was so good. It was just so good. Like, I put it on. I said, I was like, even going into watching the UFC yesterday, I thought, it'll be great to have something back. That's nice. And then when I got there, it was a bit odd. I was like, it got me a little bit emotionally. It was really cool to see it happening. And because it was that thing where I've watched so many classic things over the last few weeks, thank you very much to all the sports companies who have been putting those out. But, man, something that is a mystery that you don't know the end of is great. Yeah. But, Kai, did you see the end of this fight being like a large building swinging its arms backwards and forwards until it just caught the other tree and knocked it down into the corner? That was insane.
Bro, he's a scary dude, man. Like, he just was like, this fight's ending right now, and just swung and caught him, and then it wasn't enough when he was nearly out.
That one.
It was savage.
That one, man. So it's funny that because I was reading on the internet afterwards because and by the way, this was the end of the fight too. That happened. So like I was reading, people go, he should have had his chin tucked and he should have done this and that thing. So Kai, in his head, you just basically talked us through it, right? Like he would understand technique. He's like, fuck it, I'm just going to knock him out.
Bro, that's the thing. There's a lot of technique that goes into play, but when you have such raw power like that, and it's just in the heavyweight division, like you can literally touch someone and put them to sleep. That's just how it is. So like you can, the technique goes out a little bit just because so much brute strength is coming forward, and you just have to touch their chin just a little bit, because those shots weren't like clean. They were glancing, but one was just enough just to put them out, cold.
Mate, I got to give you props. You said Tony Ferguson was a different kind of cat, and to get punched in the face 300 times, and he's a different kind of goal.
When I talked to you guys last, I said this is a fight that's just going to have pure violence, and it delivered,
Yeah.
That seemed pretty weird though, like because you see the video of him in hospital today, and he's like dancing around.
Dancing.
You're like, dude, you just got like.
That's not normal, man.
No, that's like a tenderized steak on the top of a neck. Like it's just like a tenderized, like it was all bruised and stuff, and he was just dancing about. That's a crazy man.
Well, in that though, like Kai, I actually thought to myself as I was watching, it's actually pretty cool that because Justin Gaethje, like you said, was landing massive shots, and I think everyone on planet Earth watching went, "Oh my god!" Like I folded up like those deck chairs. I was folded up like that on the couch every time I hit it. I had to look at it again and see if we could do it. But for Justin Gaethje to have the incredible clarity to go, to not just give up because it's like, fuck, I've smashed this guy 5 times. He must be the boogeyman, right? That must be a hard thing to not have in your heads to go, he's gonna fall eventually.
Yeah, you can't be too you can't watch your work too much, because a guy like Tony, you give him an inch and he'll come back, and like he caught him off that massive uppercut, and was that the second round? I thought, because I wanted Tony to win as well, so when he landed, I was off my seat, and I was like, "Come on, boy, like kick!" But Gaethje's a gamer. Like this guy is, like he's the future of this division. Like he's the face of it now. And after when they went to put the belt on me, he's like, "I don't want that. I want the real thing." It just goes to show like what kind of person he is.
Man, that's a scary
that whole
person.
card was amazing. That like when I was talking, like it was interesting to see what kind of quality of fights we'll be getting. But like this card delivered. Every fight was like
they were all good, hey? No duds.
No duds at all. Everyone just came to put it on. I think everyone was just excited to be working and surrounded by. Or being back in the UFC and fighting under the bright lights again, even though there was no crowd, you could see everyone was excited and just itching to get in there. And yeah, they did.
What are your thoughts about the Cruz stoppage?
Yeah, well, I'm happy because me and Cejudo are mates. You know, being from the Ultimate Fighter, being my coach on the show, so I was happy for him. He did all the right things. You go into the ref stops you, so he just got cut before that. You remember the head clash?
Yep.
So that would have been a big pivotal moment in that fight, and then to come back, catch him off that knee was flush, and that did rock him a lot. So when he was getting up, he was disorientated. Benefit of the doubt, he was still in it, but from what the ref was doing and what the ref was saying, he made the call.
Do you speak to the ref like Dominic Cruz said after the fight? He goes, "I told the ref, let me go, let me go."
Fight,
is that what you do?
You got to give him some sort of reassurance that you're okay, like either a thumbs up or I'm good, or like you got to show some sort of like awareness that you're still in the fight and you still want to be there. So it is I'm not a ref, so it's a hard job because you can it's better to be a bit early than to be a bit late. You know, if Cruz was still out on all hands, on all four, not all there and taking unnecessary punishment, like we would be saying, you know, what a bad stoppage it was. But it's one of these things when it's a title fight, you got to let it run a little bit longer because there's so much more on the line. And Dominic Cruz is such a been, you know, a massive name for the division, riddled with injuries, but he's still one of the best out there, and it shows. But yeah, it's one of those things where you can't doubt, you can't floor Cejudo for it. He was just doing his job, and he announced his retirement after that fight, which is pretty crazy. Unexpected. I didn't
retired, or is that a contract move?
I don't know. Like the way when I talked to him on a personal level back in Vegas for Israel's fight a few months ago, like he's got a new girlfriend now, and like you can kind of see that he wants to settle down a bit more and like I guess take more of a not coaching role, but just like enjoy it while he's on top. And it is a smart move. You know, he's 33. He's done a lot. Olympic world champ, flyweight champ, bantamweight, and defended against a lot of good guys. So to get a good win like this against a good name, why not retire on top? You know, he's done everything. And there's a lot of young guys coming through that I guess he's just not motivated to kind of keep that same intensity. If you can feel it and you know that you're on your last legs and you're not all there, I don't think he wants to take that risk. And he's pretty charismatic on the camera, so maybe he's got a career in WWE like Ronda Rousey.
I heard that there was a bit of a maybe he's going to take it. Hey, can I just thank you too? Because one of the cool things for us is that we get to ask experts things and they teach us stuff, and it was really cool how your voice was ringing in my ears at the start of that fight when Dominic was coming out and zipping around and doing everything, and Henry was just kind of positioning and waiting for him. I thought, that's the thing that Kai was talking about with the whole, you know that he moves. So,
exactly.
Okay, rather than being freaked out, I'm just going to wait for it to
Yeah, he's never changed his style since day one. Like, I know a lot of guys that try to emulate that, but only Dominic Cruz can do that. And Cejudo did all the right things. He was waiting, being patient, letting him kind of come in and try to counter. That's why they had that head clash, because I think he was rushing a few things, but he was doing the right thing by feinting before he committed to his punches and his kicks. But those inside leg kicks are what were doing the damage for Cejudo, because every time he would do that skip step, he would take out that inside leg, and then he wouldn't be able to sit on his punches anymore. It just broke up the rhythm, and eventually caught him with that knee that was pretty devastating. So, yeah, clinical performance. But yeah, it's interesting to see what they're going to do now with that bantamweight division wide open. They said maybe they're going to do a tournament. I know the number one guy, Peter Yan, he's from Russia. I train with him in Thailand. This guy is like, he's lethal, man. Like, he's probably my hardest training partner I've ever sparred. And he just does it for fun. Like, when he's hurting people and when he's getting hit, that's when he's living his best life, and it's not normal.
I love how you humanize these things, like it's just part of your job, like part of your work, and even to the extent when you're talking about the referee and showing them that you're all good. Like, can you guys just, for us normal, like us normals that aren't used to that, can you imagine looking up at a referee and giving him a thumbs up while there's a barrage of punches coming? Just a quick smile to say, I'm good. Just leave us rolling. We're good. Like, it is such an intense situation to be in, and for you to be able to normalize it and say, it's just a job. It's work. I get in there and I do it. It's amazing.
You got to be cool-headed, man. Like when you're getting like choked or like you're nearly going unconscious, but you have to show that you're still like alive. You got to do something to like. You got to do like, you know, you can even do like a yoga. You got to do something, but it's just a part of it, and that comes with experience. You got to be, like for me, if I'm in a choke, I'm prepared to go to sleep before I tap. You know, like it's just the kind of mentality you got to have. And if you're not willing to push it, then you're not willing to, you know, risk the rewards. So
one last wink at the referee before you go to sleep. Yeah, I'm good. Hey, hey, Guy, I found it. This is going to sound really spiritual and probably deep and stupid, but I found it really amazing watching 249. Just with just little things that I started to appreciate even more about the sport. Without having the crowd noise, from the commentary to the clearness of the commentary and the guys doing that to the power and the thuds. Like you take away the crowd. You put a real good card on, and you learn about all these other little intricate details that you kind of miss when you're sort of fizzing and think. Did you find that? Were you kind of well? You've been in the ring and in the octagon, so you would see all these little things that we haven't seen. But the fact that there was no crowd almost added to the fact that you could see all the intricate little bits and the details going on behind the scenes.
It's just so raw, you know, and so that's the essence of the sport. The reason why the sport is so popular and, you know, taking over is because the fights speak for themselves. Like you can have all these bright lights, have the crowd, have all the atmosphere, but end of the day, the fights are what are going to sell, and they delivered. And that just goes to show the sport is back and it never really left. And having a 2-week hiatus or 2-month hiatus of no fights, it actually worked in their favor because everyone's just buzzing to see the next fight card now. Like there's so many. That card was,
and it's on Thursday. It's on Thursday at 1 o'clock.
Thursday. Yeah.
No, I would love to. Sorry, I'd love to waste your time and go through because I decided that the best thing possible for me to do, to take some bets and what have you, was to put together like a brain team from New Zealand media, the guys that cover it for a living. I had Ricardo Ball from Trackside, Christopher Reeve from New Zealand Herald, and Brad Lewis from News Hub, guys who have talked to you on the constant. And so I put them all together on a vlog, and we sat there and we went through each fight. And who they thought would win the fight and just how confident they were in that pick. I can tell you that the Brains Trust of New Zealand's finest media that are covering MMA at the moment got me a 4 out of 10 10-leg multi.
All right.
Really?
Solid. Yeah.
So was it one of those cards and once you walked away from it thought, shit, that was great. That was so much fun. Was it one of those cards where you felt, man, that didn't go as planned, or were you kind of more on the money than, say, our more esteemed colleagues?
Well, I lost money. It didn't go to plan, but Tony Ferguson lost it for me. But it was that's the beauty of the sport. You know, anyone can win. Anyone the rankings don't matter. Everyone in the UFC on the roster. This is the pinnacle of the sport. If you're in the UFC, you're in there for a reason, and it doesn't matter hometown advantage, crowd. End of the day, when you're in there, I heard Showtime, Anthony Pettis took this fight on 2 weeks' notice. He didn't look in the best shape. He looked a little bit big, but you know, technique is what's going to get you through. And that fight was crazy as well. Like watching two pioneers, two vets, just slugging it out like they did. That was a sick fight as well. Like just top to bottom, everyone just came and showed up and put it on. It was awesome.
Speaking about your multi, you might get some hate mail from some of the boys. Your name. I think I was a name dropper. I was like, my bro, Kai Carter France. Yeah. Spoke to him the other night. He gave me this multi. You know the UFC fighter? Yeah, he's my bro. I speak to him. And I shared the round, and we were on, and Tony just didn't pull through. So if you get some mail, just
I'll send them your way, eh?
Yeah, do that.
No, it was so good to have it back, man. It was so good to have it back. It's cool to have you to be able to talk to well, because I mean, you take it to another level when you're able to break down fights, and we see it for what it is, but to be able to know what's going on in the fighters' heads and have a better idea of what it's like in that atmosphere in the actual octagon. Was there anyone who stood out for you as that put a performance together that has put them in the light for a championship fight, or anyone who really made an impression on you that thought, shit, that's got a good future?
Yeah, one of my mates. So we're actually we've been in contact this whole time in lockdown. Calvin Cater.
Kevin Cater, yeah.
He's a beast, man. This guy, like the whole time he came out, the guys I was watching it with, they're like, I don't know, Jeremy Stevens is pretty good, and like he's game, and he throws hands, he throws bombs, and I was like, nah, just wait. Calvin's slick, like his technique is one of the best on the roster, and I've been watching this guy for a while now, so I was like, just let him slowly build up, because he's a slow starter, but eventually he'll find the opening, and then he'll put him away. And then he caught him with that slick elbow when Jeremy went to throw that right hand as well, and he was just an inch off. His head was offline, and then the elbow straight on his mouth, and then that last elbow to cut him open. That was his clinical. So that guy's got a massive future. Like he was, I think, ranked number 7 going into that fight. So he will definitely bump up in the rankings, and he'll be fighting my teammate Alex Volkanovski pretty soon, I think.
Yeah.
With performances like that's just clinical. And Jeremy Stevens is a big name, he's the guy that was, who the fuck is that guy?
Yeah, I know. I was going to say. He's like, oh, damn, not again when everyone's watching.
Exactly.
You did say that, didn't you? You did say Cutter, because you said it, and I was like, bro, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. This guy's getting smacked.
Yeah,
first round. And then
and then he's got slick hands. Like he was taking beatings on the kicks. Like he was getting chopped to pieces on the legs, but he was like, just wait. Like Jeremy Stevens loads a lot of his punching, and he wastes a lot of energy doing that. So you can't do that for 3 rounds straight. You're gonna lose in the long run. But if you're sticking to the technique and you're not loading your punching, and you everything's nice and set up and crisp, that's gonna show. And that's what that fight was pretty much. Technique over power all day.
I mean, where I think it was good too is because it was the only sports event on planet Earth, right? Yep. So people went to it, and there was all your classic bits. I don't normally watch, but geez, that was pretty good.
Hey, Korean football. Was it Korean?
Oh, yeah, sorry, the Korean. No, well, the Korean baseball had finished for the day, so it was after the Dinos, though, mate. We love our HC Dinos; they're awesome. Official thing. But I was thinking, like, man, it was a great card to make yourself a star, like a worldwide sports star. Like Justin Gaethje could have done that if all the rest of the world sport was going on, and I still feel like it would have been a big deal amongst MMA fans and no one else. Because unfortunately, it would have been as it is. But now I think yesterday, like, man, like Dana White just must be high-fiving himself, because you got a card that people all around the world could watch and go, that's an awesome, spectacular thing that I want to watch. And that was really interesting, and you felt like you're in it. And this guy, Justin Gaethje, if I've tuned in and I haven't watched much before, wow, this is cool. And even that guy that lost, he was kind of fun too, man. So it was a good night to become a star. So I can understand how you guys are all clambering to go, I'll go to Fight Island.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone's like, sign me up, mate. Let's go.
Yeah.
So the gym opens up, I think, Thursday, with that announcement today, going to level 2. So there'll be some sort of protocol in place with Eugene, our head coach, in the next few days, just kind of teeing up, how we can do it and how we can work around it. But yeah, that's a good sign. There's that light at the end of the tunnel where things will start to become a lot more normal, a lot more routine, and with the NRL starting back up as well, that's awesome to see the boys, physically in training and being able to tackle each other, and that's in our sport as well. We're going to have to wrestle and grapple and punch each other in the face. So, it's promising knowing that things are looking to get back on track.
Yeah, when sports gets back, as broadcasters too, we need to be getting ready to, we'll be grappling, we'll be punching each other in the face as well. Just getting ready. And the offer still stands, Kai. Like when you are starting to get to that point where you're looking for a couple more test dummies. Even if I saw a video of Dan Hooker spear tackling people left, right, and centre, like the whole gym was coming in and standing there. We will happily stand there for you to drop the shoulder in, and we'll play the but we're happy to be the crash test.
You guys remember when me and Dan sparred Tammy Davis?
Yes. We don't want to be sparred. Don't worry. We don't want to be kicked and punched.
I want to go for the win. I'm going for the win.
Well, that's what Tammy did. Tammy did the worst thing you can do is call Dan Hooker out, and then he was like, "Look at Kai. He's half my size. I'll smash him." And then from there, they're like, "Let's set it up. We're doing this."
Yeah.
So he came down to Dan's gym.
Look at me backpedaling.
He was nervous, he didn't even shake my hand. I was like, we're just gonna go spar. Like, there's nothing. This doesn't need to be like a big thing. And he was like, nah, man, it's either me or you. I was like, he was shaking, like his voice was getting a bit high. And, and then he asked Dan, he goes to Dan, he's like, are we wearing shin pads? And then Dan's like, do what the fuck you want. And then I went easy on him because I knew Dan was going to go hard, because there's a bit of a backstory to that. So when Dan used to bounce back in the day, when this was Tammy Davis's height of outrageous fortune, when he was Munter, he went to Dan's club, and then Dan was just doing his job. He's like, hey, bro, sorry, man, I can't let you in. And he's like, do you know who the fuck I am? And all this.
Oh, no.
Yeah, bro. He played
Not that one.
And then ever since then, Dan never liked him. So when Tammy went to George FM and was the radio host, he didn't remember this. So then when he was interviewing Dan, Dan was like, you know, we've met before. This isn't the first time we met. And he didn't remember what had happened. So then there was always beef there. So then now when they were about to have this fight, I went easy on Tammy because I knew, like, Dan was going to go hard. So I was like, I'll be the nice guy. Just kind of like let him know, but not go too hard. And then when Dan went in, it was just, I felt bad. He pushed kicking him like real hard in the stomach, like in the sternum. Leg kicks 100%. But you got to give it to Tammy. He took a beating like a man. Like he didn't back down. But yeah, he was a bit sore for a few weeks after that.
Is there, like, that to me, that scares the shit out of me, thinking that you might have pissed somebody off. And let's look at their life directions. Tammy, lovely guy, height of outrageous fortune, probably gained a bit of weight now and works in radio. Daniel at the time, bouncing, now, right up there in the UFC. So, and then they join back up in the octagon. Like, that's a
it's a terrible place to meet up.
It was great content.
It's really
So can I just reiterate, this is not like, I'm not offering to be a spar partner, I'm just offering to be a tackle dummy. I want nothing to do with the punching side.
No, rewind the podcast, you can hear it. You said it before.
Get myself in a whole heap of trouble.
Hey, you guys want to get a lot more views on your podcast? We can get this going.
There you go.
Nah, because fuck it, I would have said something to Dan. I wouldn't have even known it's happened. I would have said something stupid to somebody who's going to hurt me, and then it's all downhill.
No.
And this nose will break. Like.
It's all. At the end of the day, it's only a bit of fun, Just it's like fun. Just a tune-up. When you want to build your confidence in pre-season.
Yeah, it's just a tune-up, mate. It's just a tune-up.
Just a tune-up. Just as you do.
I just said.
Yeah.
Take one for the team, bro.
Take one for the team.
Fuck off, Nate. How has this just got to me? It was going to be all three of us.
Come on, Mark.
I'm filming. Look at my.
I'm apparently a reporter now, so I can report on it.
Oh,
yeah, he's a reporter.
Nato's filming. Yeah, you're the talent.
Kai, I'm happy to stand.
Blake can be the ref.
Right. I'm happy to stand there.
I'm going to let it run. I'm going to let it run. Mark's giving me a wink. He said, "Sweet."
No, he's good.
No early stoppages, eh?
I'm sweet. All right, this has gone down a path I really didn't want it to go down. Kai, thank you so much for your time,
Thanks,
brother.
bro.
We truly appreciate it. It's always an education.
Have a chat after the next UFC or whatever.
For real, man.
Yeah,
We're looking forward to it.
Cool.
Thanks, brother.
Hopefully
Stay safe.
Come through as well.
Yeah.
Don't listen to me. I'm not the
Hey, you were close.
Yeah,
it's pretty close.
Sweet, brother. All the best.
Cheers, boys.
Catch up.
Cheers,
bro.
Bye, bro.
Oh, wow.
You're right, then.
Fuck you guys, man. We're my wingmen. Fucking hell. In the face
No,
of...
it's going to be... Dude, content. It's going to be great content, and good on you.
Can I just ask then, for the people who are watching, because we can joke about content, but for the people watching right now, would you rather see all of us in there being tackle bags, or do you just want to see my fucking mug getting wasted? Right now, I'll take a poll. If it goes the way of just me, I'll take one for the team.
Yes, come on, people. Come on.
I'll tell you, just to go back to that UFC, one of the things I thought about sound, and I was making like little... I was watching it, I thought I'll make some notes myself as well. And I think the reason that it got a bit more like, whoa, was it sounded like a street fight. Hey, it was like being around a hard out fight that you've seen, and hopefully you haven't seen, but when you've seen, you know what I mean? It sounded like it. And I was like, oh, that's why this feels really raw and really in there. But man, Tony Ferguson, some of those ones that he took, you're just like, how are you still there? And I liked at the end, just so that uppercut at the end of round 2, that got Justin Gaethje way worse than was realised. I don't know if you heard him on the way out when, the camera's coming with him and you could hear him talking with his thing. And he said to the guy in his corner, "Oh, yeah, man, that uppercut at the end of round 1, man, he smoked me. I can't remember." And it's like, so he forgot an entire round from that uppercut. I think it's going to be really interesting for Justin Gaethje to be, "Oh, that was the end of round 2?" I thought it was because he said it at the end of round 1, and his coach kind of looked at him like Trevor Whitman was like, "Okay."
Yeah. How good is it though that you can hear all that stuff? Oh, that's what I liked about it, because the crowd there, you miss sort of the crowd cheering and that. Like I love that, but then you get that even in the corners. Like sometimes it's hard to hear in the corners because everyone's cheering. I loved it, man.
Well, there's because I did think to myself like that. Okay, this it is what it is. Part of me thought, this has been such a great card that if I think remember the card that Izzy fought on when there was the women's fight beforehand, where it was just crazy, right? So I was down at the local pub, Mr. Illingsworth, and the whole crowd was going off, and I thought, what a shame, because they could have had this for all of them if they had of. But still, at the same time, they all delivered so great. Like you said, there were other bits you could take out of it, but the funniest detail I heard was 2 fighters said afterwards that they could hear Daniel Cormier commentating, and one of them admitted to changing a hold that he had because he thought, I could hear Daniel Cormier saying, he's not going to escape like that. So he used it. He said, "Yeah, I managed to escape. I could hear Cormier doing it."
Because I heard them commentating and saying that, we've got to be a bit quieter.
Yeah, we've got to be a bit quieter.
I'll tell you what,
I think you like.
Yeah, go on.
No, but I think you like that. If you're going to do that and get over them and do that, it's like that. Sorry, Broco.
No, I was saying the man we're leaving out, the big Buffinator, announcer.
Oh,
mate, that's a talent to work with. No one in the crowd, and just still come out with that enthusiasm and still get everyone up.
Yeah, right.
And his suit jacket.
Thousands around the world and people in attendance. Well, there was a cool thing. Like someone said, "Who were the people that fist bumped the fighter on the way to the ring?" And Dana White was like, "Oh, I don't know. Must be someone working the event. I don't know. I don't know who that was."
See that.
But there was Sam Alvey, who was the very first one. They call him Smiling Sam. He kind of looks like the Jimmy Neesham of MMA. He was walking out like he did the invisible high fives to fans on the way out on the way too. So it was cool to see, man. Like hearing the corners, hearing the hits, seeing in amongst all of it. It was
like, we won't get this for much longer, so that's where I appreciate it. I was like, cool, this is going to be a chance where there's no crowd, where we get to hear everything that's going on. Not too dissimilar to the time in UFC Auckland where I got that. Somehow ESPN gave me like the front row. You could hear all the noises, the hits, and the and it was like, oh god, this is real. You get to hear that now on TV, which is a treat. But it won't be for long because the crowds will.
No, exactly.
Do you think?
Hoping not for long anyway.
Do you think your fight against Kai would be crowds or crowdless?
It's not a fight. Just so you know, they're starting to come in. It's all fun. Craig Fowler says it's all fun until someone loses an eye. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, Aiden. Man, I hope leprosy doesn't hit you in the stroke of midnight, good sir. He says, just Mark. Will Miller says, all three of us. Yeah, Will. I reckon so too. All of us in there getting tackled and wasted. Ivan Nelson says, get Kent to do it. Kent was never a fan of UFC, so if we told him, hey, man.
He does boxing.
Yeah, he does boxing.
Lessons. Yeah. He's done his boxing
He'd actually try and go seriously. See, this is, I think, where your biggest mistake is. When you're in when you're in an octagon with a man, or training or sparring with a man who does that shit for a living, you are stupid to think put up a fight. Like, hold firm, don't swing. If he's there and he's open, if he's there, do not take a shot. Do not take a shot. Yes, be old school heavyweight butterbean boxing. Just a real slight swing and then hold. Just hold, lock up, get the referee to come in and push your way. If I do go in and do sparring, which I said I wouldn't, it would be more along the lines of being a tackle bag. But if I do go and spar Kai, I am doing nothing but locking up and just holding him tight.
I can't wait. I'll be in the corner just yelling stuff out like, get him, Kai.
Get him.
You guys are the best mates ever. Just quickly too, Ivan Nelson says, weather clear and crisp in Cambridge. We forgot weather talk. We forgot weather talk. So if you want to fire in your weather. Also, before we finish, boys, Jacob Spoonley and Nick Hyde, the Full 90 podcast. We will be welcoming them to the Mark Peard Sports platform. They will be doing football, from local football all the way up to Premier League and world football. They are going to be your coverage for all things football, and we're going to welcome them into the whānau of Mark Peard Sports. They'll be doing a weekly podcast. We'll have them on the show tomorrow night to introduce them and get a feel for who and what they're all about. I'm looking forward to it. The family is slowly getting bigger and bigger with more podcasts lined up and vlogcasts rearing to go.
So wait, everybody.
Watch out. Watch this space. That's happening.
Right.
It's happening. All right, Blake, be safe over there, mate. Remember, even though you've been wrestling your teammates, you still have to be in isolation. You're not allowed to say hello to people in the hallway. Everybody who texted in or messaged in, thank you so much for watching.
Thank you.
Much love. Dan Hooker, scarred Rog from The Rock. Oh, I don't want to hear all this shit. This is not leading well. We'll see you all tomorrow for another bumper show. Ka kite anō.